Hello, I'm Glenn W. Hunter, and this is the three C's of social emotional learning: collaboration, community, and communication. And with me, as always, our subject matter expert, Miss Shor Denny. Shor, there is craziness happening in the holidays right now. How are yours going?
Well, not as usual. Kind of lonely. Um, Kind of hard for me to push to get my shopping done since I'm not, running out in the street. So it's a very different Christmas season for me.
Well, I think that's something we're seeing throughout the Inland Empire right about now. Our community is showing a different kind of Christmas. And really, what we're going to talk about today is holidays, family, and food. Very normal topic for December, except this is 2020 and nothing is normal. So, I want to jump into it when we start looking at this through that 2020 lens and from what we talk about, the trauma that impacts our community. So, from a trauma perspective, thinking about our youth, how are they managing the fact that we have food lines now, and that's now become part of their holiday experience?
I think this is a year, some people, that is their experience, right? That is part of their life. But I still think those who even it's a part of their experience see it differently, because I don't think there's ever been drive-by food banks before, right? Where you drive and people load you up. I think that it could be two ways. Some families, youth that aren't used to needing help, that are needing help this year, I think it's going to be, a bit traumatic, but I think also that they're going to be grateful that there are outlets, there are places to get this food that they need. There are ways to supplement what they're able to get for themselves. So in one hand, I think that it's kind of shocking, or it's different. But on the other hand, I think they're more worried about the presents under the tree. The older they get, they might be wondering, well, if we're getting food, maybe we can't get presents, so maybe they're seeing it as, yay, because we don't have to pay for food, we can get presents.
And I think both of those are valid perspectives to look at. And I think what's really interesting, just in our circle, the opportunities for food delivery, people who are engaged in the philanthropic community work of delivering food. I mean, I know the work I do with 100 Black Men of the Inland Empire, we're providing dinners. The Coalition of Black Health and Wellness, which we're both affiliated with, there's, again, opportunities for food to be delivered. But when you start thinking about those who are receiving it, what's the mindset when this is your first time having to, in essence, struggle in this particular vein, in this particular community?
The beauty is that there's always a good and a bad side. So the beauty is that they're coming through very hopeful. The people, I mean, we gave out over 3,000 boxes of food last week, and the people that came through the line were thankful. They were very jovial, saying happy holidays. The youth that were in the cars with them, of course, everybody's masked and everything, but as we're interacting with them, it wasn't a sense of dread. It was more of community, of camaraderie, which is something to me that's new. I don't think we've been feeling that in our communities in the last couple of years. So I'm going to say that with this horrible thing that's happening, this need, that it's bringing us together as communities.
Wow. I think what's interesting about that observation of it bringing us together is that, one, it isn't just them anymore who's struggling, it is in fact us. I think the other part is that it is such a unique type of struggle. I mean, it's not like a family loses their job and they're not sure where they're going to get groceries from. Groceries are available. They're healthy. They're good. They're coming from legitimate locations that are able to provide. So basics are being met, but now all of a sudden the trauma is also affecting them social emotionally. Am I worthy? And what do you tell families that are beginning to doubt their ability to provide for their youth?
Well, I'm going to start with food is not abundant, and cost has gone up. Every week it seems that food is costlier. And there are things that you can't find in the store anymore. Different brands are gone. that COVID had devastated the meat market. So you're not seeing chicken in the stores. There are things that are missing. And I think that that also plays a part into getting food through the food distribution, because it's picking up things that you can't get in the store. And once you get the bag, they're very good bags. I'm just going to boxes. There are potatoes, onions, fruit, meat, dairy, all of that in this box. So these are things, again, that people are having hardships getting. So it's supplementing. People that live in that again, as we were saying, people that aren't used to or normally don't have these types of challenges are now driving their Beamers through food distribution lines, right? They're driving, you see these beautiful cars, and sometimes we even see food. They've gone to the store and bought food when they come through the line, because again, there are things that are missing. And it's not like 1918 or 1930s with the Depression, where all they were eating was that soup. They came walking with their bowl. It's a different dynamic now. They might have some resources. This isn't their only resource, but it's a very needed one, and it's central to the community, because again, there are so many things that are missing and overpriced right now. So it's for everyone, not just those that are in need, but just everyday people are getting these food distributions to try to supplement what they have.
No, I think that is a fascinating point you brought up, contrasting a food line in this pandemic versus the one a century ago, where communities were a little bit more closer together, a little bit more tighter. So the need was more concentrated. But this one, it's a little bit more expansive. There are more people involved. But what is I find equally fascinating, to your point, even in the food line, is the quality of the food. We actually live in a very fertile environment. We produce a lot of food for basically for America here in the Inland Empire. Do you
Yes.
think that quality is recognized by the people who are going through the lines? That this is something comparable to what we are expecting to have. We're not picking bugs off of it.
Yes, and I love your point, because the boxes come from the farms.
Mhm.
Um, that Sunshine Farm, or I can't remember the name right off the top of my head, but there are farms that are participating. So yes, this is fresh produce. This is fresh, or not the day old stuff that you usually see in a food pantry. When I volunteered in food pantries, it was the stuff you looked on it, and the dates were, it was right at the expiration date or past the expiration date, or that is not the case. In this case, that the things that they are providing are very fresh and needed, things that you actually need, not some crazy, can of something that you've never eaten before. These are your staples that they're providing.
Right. No. So again, one of the benefits of being in the Inland Empire, when you think about all the craziness and changes that we're going through. But on the theme of changes, I want to change gears a little bit, because not only do we have the nourishment component, there's still the emotional component that has to be attended to. So as you're looking in the community, as you're connecting with the people that you interact with, what are some of the challenges that families are enduring with regards to like child rearing? Because maybe work schedules, or because they just need a mental break as parents. What are these challenges that are being managed regarding the children and their care?
Well, a great thing that we're seeing is that because everybody's distance learning, there's an ability to be more lax in where your youth are. So, cousins are moving around to different families. If a parent has a horrible work schedule, or if there may be some of these essential workers, nurses and stuff, there are family members that are taking care of their youth, to support them. So with that, I think we're seeing a lot of movement of family members, especially the youth being supported by family members. And grouping together, youth coming together because, oh, I've got one in school, bring yours, and kind of working it out like that.
I saw something very peculiar not bad, but peculiar, about a week or two ago. Walking through a community, just sort of trying to get a little fresh air, a little exercise. I'm a man of a certain age, so I'm trying to keep some of the pounds off. And I noticed kids playing in the streets in their communities, not on the main avenue, but in the street. Back in the Stone Age, when I was coming up, that's what we did. Now kids have their technology, they're in the house, they know they plug in. They were playing with the ball in the street. Is that an unforeseen benefit of this craziness where parents are like, just get out before one of us loses it? And the kids actually benefit from that kind of personal interaction.
I think that statement was from our generation. Just get out before I lose it. My mom used to tell me, go play in traffic. So I mean, nowadays, I don't think so. I think nowadays what we're looking at is youth are being over computerized, right? The youth now themselves are being over, their senses are overwhelmed with Zoom, the Zoom life that we've created for ourselves now. Everything's on Zoom. You're talking to your friends on, not Zoom, but on the computer. All your classes are on the computer. All of this, I think, is getting them to be a little tired of it. The PlayStation, all of it is kind of the same. I mean, it's a game, but it's still, you're in front of a screen. And I think that some of our youth are getting tired of that. And yeah, they're looking at other ways of entertaining themselves.
No. You said just something that I saw that, besides the nostalgia, seemed pleasantly healthy for them. And so, but staying on that whole idea of health, we have parents, again, they're juggling their youth because of work schedules when they're fortunate enough to have work. Schedules are juggling depending on what kind of work they're doing. With all of those pressures, how do we keep the children in a childlike mindset? I mean, that's not their problem that mom now has to work a later shift, but they still are looking for a sense of normalcy, particularly in the holidays. How do we communicate this new normal to our children in a way they can receive it, accept it?
There are certain ages that, there's nothing you can do, right? They're just too young. And you're going to try to support them as much as you can and as normal of an experience as you can. You're going to buffer their world, right? As much as you can. But the older they get, the less buffering that you can do. The less you can, hide them from what is happening around them. I really think that getting the youth involved at a certain age, I'd say 10 and above, they need to be a part of what's going on so that they can understand the experience that they're living through. This is unprecedented, and they should know that they're living in unprecedented times. So sometimes you're not going to be able to do it. They're going to have to take the bumps of, we're not going to see family this year. But if they do have internet, they can Zoom, right? It's going to be trying to find different ways of doing what we've done before. Just like Thanksgiving, Zoom is going to be it. FaceTime, ways of having, you can have dinner together and put the screen down on the table. And, there are so many ways that we can, but again, there's that screen. So I'm thinking that buying toys that they can play with outside is going to be something that we can do to help them. Trying to keep things economical right now. Some families, unfortunately, aren't going to get gifts. Maybe some families that never didn't get gifts are not getting gifts, right? And that's where the stressor is going to come in. If you have a family that's used to struggling and another year of struggle comes, it's kind of another year of struggle. But if you have a family that's not struggled and then a year of struggle comes, it's very pronounced, right? They don't have the coping skills in place to deal with the disappointments, that they're going to come up with in that year. So I would say inexpensive gifts, doing things, maybe crafts, finding different ways. One thing that I'm doing is cookies. I'm baking a bunch of cookies and giving them out, different things that you have a knack for, your little gift that you have that you can create, create and give those things. Your youth might not be very excited about it, And there's really nothing we can do other than help them cope with the lack, right? We're all lacking at the same time. When my daughter, when she's disappointed and I'm not able to cover, I just get disappointed with her and like, yeah, here's where we are, right? Dang, I wish too that we could, but we can't. And show her how to cope, show them how to cope with that disappointment in a healthy way, right? Don't start drinking and cuss them out, or find healthy ways, alternatives. Go, instead of, take the family and jump in the car and go for a drive, to the mountains, and make that, and have a picnic. A family picnic in the mountains could be Christmas. I mean, come up with the innovative ways of getting everyone excited, and seeing that there's value and something special about the season.
I think with the suggestion you just brought, there's an opportunity to actually have families interact more as a result of this unprecedented trauma that's coming upon our community. I think that as we're looking at the creative ways to get through it, I think we're going to find new ways to both engage and entertain ourselves. The trauma is real. The young folks are suffering, the older folks, the parents are suffering, the grandparents are suffering. Usually, when I would ask you what is the best way for them to cope and manage, you would say breathe, which is always effective because of all the health benefits of just reminding that.
Yes.
But beyond breathing, and really more just from a mental peace perspective, what would you advise not just the youth in this time, but the older generations who are now beginning to realize not only is this different, I've been around the sun a number of times, and this is really different. From a mental perspective, what would be your advice for some of the elderly in our community?
For the elderly, I'm going to say socialize. That's going to be the biggest thing. If you're in a place like a senior center, or senior housing, come together. You're all in the same boat. Come together and try to make the holiday as you remember it. Right now, for our older folks, holidays aren't what they used to be, right? So maybe this is an opportunity to go back in time to what did they do back in time, for Christmas, because there weren't all these things that we have today back in 60 years ago. If you remember 60 years ago what you were doing, that might be something you can do now. I'm just saying, with the restrictions. But gratefulness is going to be the key, to be grateful for what we have. I'm grateful for what we haven't lost, and grateful for what is going to come. I think is the only way to get through this in a positive manner. Be grateful for the family that's still here. A lot of people are losing family members.
Yes.
Connect with them via Zoom, via FaceTime, and say happy holidays and be thankful and appreciative. Whatever food you have for the holidays, be appreciative for that food, right? And know that some don't have. My mom used to tell me, I used to whine about things because we were poor. And I used to whine, I want shoes or something. And my mom would say, be careful, you're the one that's whining about shoes, but look at the man that whines, that's not whining, that has no feet, right? So I'm looking like, oh, I don't have good shoes to put on, but there's a person that has no feet. So we've got to look at what, be appreciative of what we do have in this year. And I think that's really it. And I think that's something that's a big lesson that we need to teach ourselves as adults, along with our kids, is that this is no longer a time of snap materialistic, satisfaction. This is a year of humanity and touch and understanding. So instead of getting that gift, it might be a connection, a personal connection, that ends up being the best thing that you can do this year.
Wow, I think that really sums it up. I mean, socialize, appreciation, gratefulness. These are things that really improve the human condition. And I think from a community standpoint will help us get through these unprecedented times. Again, I'm Glenn W. Hunter. Always the pleasure of spending this time with our subject matter expert, Shor Denny. And as always, as we get ready to embrace the holidays, or we're embracing the holidays, and we're engaging and we're challenged, I want to encourage all of you to be safe. Thank you.